Hello, people. It's Invisible World number 48. Wow, we're heading on up to the magical 52 number.
We're getting old.
Yeah, we are. We're getting old, and unfortunately, we're not getting any wiser either. Before we start the show, I want to talk about tonight's Game Trailers TV, where they are going in depth on Alpha Protocol from Obsidian, and they have a sneaky peek at the lovely new Fallout 3 DLC, The Pit. I think that's spelled with two T's, isn't it? The Pit.
Yes.
Like Brad Pitt?
The Brad Pitt, yes,
Oh,
indeed.
I
You get
see.
to go deep inside Angelina Jolie. That's rude. Okay, so on today's show, we have the spectacular Patrick Morales,
Oh God, where is everyone?
the wonderfully noisy Mike Damiani.
Calm down.
See, I was quiet.
You were quiet. Well done. Just to
Unpredictable
make me
right
look
there.
like a
Riled
dick.
up.
Brooks Huber.
That's new.
That sounded like, what's his face? Louis Armstrong right there.
Bill Cosby, but okay.
And you just heard him, the wonderful Daniel Bloodworth.
Hey.
I am Marcus Beer. No Shane this week. He's in New York being all high-powered and everything. So if you see him wandering around New York, say hello to him for us. Okay, on with the show.
I've been waiting for you, Knight from another world.
Whoa!
Fool, where are you going?
But that's...
You are being rude to the Lady of the Lake. Bow your head.
Oakley dokley, let's crack on. And the first game, this is a character who, in the past 12 months, we've spoken about 8-9 times, and it's always been, prefaced with what the has happened to this character. And we have a new Sonic game. Patrick, you've been playing it.
Yes, unfortunately.
Tell us all about Sonic and the Dark Knight.
Black Knight.
Black Knight, Dark Knight. Now, see, that would be a great crossover. It's like, Hedgehog.
It's
I'm
already a
Batman.
crossover, though. You know that, right? It's King Arthur.
Oh, Jesus, what are they doing to my heritage now? All right, well, Patrick, let us go.
Well, the funny thing about Sonic is that, as of late, he's tried his hand about just about everything. He's been a hoverboard racer. He's been an Olympian. He's been a werehog.
He's been playing tennis.
He's going to be a werehog again, apparently.
Been playing a bit of tennis.
Yeah.
And he's tried all these different things, but he hasn't really been what he is. A
I
hedgehog.
think the phrase you're looking for is that he's sucked balls at every single one of them.
Yeah, basically. I mean, I really don't see why Sega is going out of its way just to be different with the Sonic franchise when, people appreciate Sonic for what it is, a fun platformer, high speed, and they could definitely do that with, a little bit of creativity and, next-gen foolery, but they've just been dropping the ball each time.
All right, so what's the premise of this, Sonic and the Black Knight? I mean, just having heard the words King Arthur, I'm already coming out in, hives of terror.
Well, let me preface this by saying it's the second installment of the Sonic storybook series. That it's very story-heavy, quote unquote. But basically, it's their take on the King Arthur tale, where Arthur gets the sword of Excalibur, but instead of being christened the King of England, he is the Dark Knight, quote unquote, or
What?
Black Knight.
Black Knight.
Yeah, I don't know, too much darkness.
So Sonic travels back in time to defeat the Black Knight?
Actually, it's funny because it starts with a cutscene of him falling out of the sky with 2 chili dogs in each hand. So I presume that he only went to a stand and suddenly found a wormhole there.
All right, well, he lands. He's got the chili dogs. Does he at least eat the chili dogs first?
No, not really. Merlina, who is the female Merlin of this universe,
Merlina.
does a hot dog cock block and
God.
basically whisks him away from his business before being able to indulge in his hot dog eatery.
All right, so what's so sucky about this game? I mean, apart from the premise, the writing, the concept, everything.
Well, it's just so contradictory at all angles. I mean, Sonic, obviously everyone knows, is a very fast game, but it's anything but in here. You basically have a sword to work with this time. You don't really hop on enemies. You run up the levels, you stop, you slash them, then you run
How do you slash him?
by waggling the Wiimote.
I could have guessed.
Now, does it control like the first one, the Sonic and the Secret Wings, where you tilt the Wii remote to steer on rails, or is it? Did they go to an actual analog stick this time?
Not at all. It actually relegates control to the nunchuck this time, so it's not so much an on-rails thing where you just tilt the Wiimote and progress through the level. It is kind of like the old Sonic Adventure games, but it still keeps the screen locked going forward, and it's really awkward all around.
Wow.
Yeah, it's not a pretty game, really, and I would even go as far to say it's probably one of the least fun games I've ever played on the Wii.
And where's this stack up compared to the previous Sonic abortions? I mean, is this just yet another celebration of spectacular crappiness?
Well, I'll put it this way. If you thought Secret Rings was pretty bad, a Black Knight isn't so great either.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
Well,
See, what I saw from you playing Black Knight, it just didn't seem like there was any sense of speed for most of the parts.
It was really anemic. I mean, there would be lots of moments where it would go, yeah, awesome, like going around loops, cool, like, you know, these little canned cutscenes of you going through the level. But then shortly thereafter, there's like some dudes in your way, and it'll stop you, like dead right there, and you'll have to waggle to slash through him. And then, you know, Sonic gets his momentum going again, then he stops.
Yeah.
Going, stop.
So, I mean, the last one at least, the last one had a sense of speed. I mean, when you started, it was kind of slow, but once you got going, it had a really good sense of speed. And there were pretty good parts where it had the old platforming elements to it. I mean, it still was on rails, but there were parts where you had to time jump still. It kind of cut out a lot of the like action bullshit that I'm seeing in the Black Knight. It still had a little bit of it going on, but it seemed that it was more, they were trying to be more old Sonic. The thing that didn't do it for me was that it had to tilt the Wii remote forward and back to go forward, stop, go,
Yeah.
and I couldn't deal with that. So I was kind of hoping that they would go to a more traditional control with the analog on this one and keep that same thing, but it seems like they went and focused a lot more on action and shenanigans.
Yeah, well, at the end of the day, like for me, as someone that grew up on the Mega Drive and Sega Genesis, playing lots of Sonic games, I want to cheer so badly for Sonic. but
Isn't the Mega
it's-
Drive, the
it's just
Sega
not gonna
Genesis
happen.
the same thing?
Well, it is, but
the Mega
I
Drive.
I grew up in the Philippines, so
Oh, okay,
I
okay.
got
It was
a
called
Mega
Mega
Drive.
Drive everywhere but here, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, word of advice to the people who are writing the Sonic games: look, if Sonic the Hedgehog did drop into, you know, Middle Ages Britain and met with King Arthur, trust me, that spiky blue bastard one would be turned into a new coat for Guinevere, and they'd have eaten the shit. And it sounds like, you know, they should have just canned this again.
And what, did you just catch that though?
What?
Patrick just gave away his ethnicity for the first time on Invisible Wolves.
I did. I'm not. I am not of African American descent. Nor
Oh,
Hispanic.
mind blown right there. Holy
I
crap.
thought you were Canadian.
Oh, well,
For people
go
on the
figure.
show, we don't actually see each other when we're talking, so we don't know this information either.
We're just disembodied voices captured on little jars.
All right, on that bombshell, we're going to stop it there. We're going to stop that, move on to something else. But yeah, Sonic and the Black Knight is a steaming pile of poop. I think the general consensus is.
Here, here.
Oh, yes.
Sega, sort your shit out.
British, always wanting to blow things up. It will not work here.
Hey, I'm okay with that. Look around all you want, but when you're done, this place is going up.
Okay, so to get the stink of Sonic out of the office, we're going to turn to something that is actually sounding rather good, and I know Mr. Bloodworth is a huge fan. Tell us about what you've been playing, what you've been reviewing, and how much you've been liking it.
Yeah, Resistance Retribution on the PSP, which curiously enough doesn't seem to have a lot of buzz. I looked in the forums yesterday, didn't seem like anyone was talking about it. By now our review's already up, so I think there probably will be a lot more buzz. But basically, you know, it jumps in between Resistance 1 and 2. It's actually just a couple months after the first Resistance game. And it has a different lead character, and it's actually a third-person shooter. But they've done a really good job with the tech side of the PSP and a really good job of like really working within the game, the system's limitations.
Now, we talked about this game after CES, because this was one of the games that came out of CES that everybody was excited about. You know, if you have Resistance 2, it can infect your PSP.
Right.
Isn't that correct?
Yeah, that's an option that you have there, and I think it's probably best for people to wait till they've already played through the game once, and when they're going through levels again, because it does change up some of the cutscenes, and actually that is one of the downsides of the infection mode is that the game has both pre-rendered cutscene and in-engine cutscenes, and the pre-rendered ones don't change at all. So you like see him jump out of a plane with one costume on, and then he's parachuting with another. So somehow he changed clothes mid-flight. But no, it's really good. You know, the main thing that they've done is because the PSP doesn't have a second analog nub, you know, it's you know, kind of tough to aim with just the face buttons. So what they've got is they have this, you know, really good automatic lock-on system, so that you know, will just pretty much just lock onto whatever enemy is within your range of vision, and then you know you're behind cover. You pop up and you shoot the enemy. And you don't have to worry so much about precise aim. And in that sense, it feels kind of like this merge between like Gears of War with the cover system and Metroid Prime with its lock-on and more emphasis on dodging enemies and bullets and stuff.
So how's it? I mean, you said it's a couple of months after the first Resistance game. I mean, you played Resistance, you played Resistance 2. I mean, how does this fit in? Does it make sense, or does it feel like a just tacked on kind of story just for and giggles?
No, it definitely, I think one of the things that really impressed me is it feels like they put just as much effort into this title as they would one of the console titles. I actually enjoy this more than Resistance 2, honestly. And from a story perspective, like, in some of the Resistance games before, and a lot of shooters this generation, I feel like there's points along the way where you're kind of not sure why you're doing what you're doing. And in this game, you never have that. Like there's a lot of story focus and a lot of cutscenes and narration in between levels. And these are the same guys that did the Siphon Filter games on PSP. And a nice little technique they've got so that you're not bored just sitting through the loading screen is they'll have journal entries before each mission while the thing is loading. And so by the time you're finished reading the journal entry, level's almost loaded and you don't have to worry about another load time until 20, 30 minutes later.
So how is it playing a shooter without a second analog stick?
Well, that's what I mean with the lock-on. You don't have to worry about the precision aim as much. There are enemies where you have to like zoom in and get headshots on, or they'll just walk up and blow up in your face. But even that, like they've got a lot of other smart things with the weapons, like with the sniper rifle. The secondary function on it now is that it will slow down time and give you kind of a bullet time effect to give you more time to line up that headshot since it is stiffer and harder to use. And then the rocket launcher, it doesn't have an auto aim function when you're using that weapon. So instead, what they do is if that rocket misses, you can hit the L button to kind of stop it in mid-flight and then retarget and hit it again, and it will redirect and hit your target from behind or whatever.
So would you say that it's a pretty faithful adaptation of Resistance on a portable?
As far as the story and the setting, yes. I mean, the game does play differently because it is in third person. There's areas where you do a little bit of like climbing up to higher levels. There's areas where you actually go underwater and swim through areas, and actually certain guns can be fired underwater and you even fight underwater.
It has online segments, no, but I didn't know it had a lock system. So how exactly does the online work? If it has like, is it versus or is it cooperative? Because if it has a lock-on system.
There's not a co-op mode at all. It's very basic online stuff. There's I think about 5 or 6 different modes. There's like a free-for-all. There's capture the flag, of course. There's like a nodes game called Containment, and then there's a simulation, which is your like zombie game where it's set up with the Maquis, which are like the French resistance, and the Cloven, which haven't been discussed much in prior Resistance games. They've been hinted at, but they're neither chimera nor human. There's this weird kind of crossbreed that I think was created in Russian scientists or something like that. But anyways, so those two are fighting it out, and so the Cloven, when they kill a Maquis, that Maquis becomes a Cloven. And so it's basically just a matter of how long the Maquis can survive.
But does the lock-on mechanics transfer online? Like, do you feel, is that present online? And
it is present
does
online.
Does it make it seem a little too easy, or like, because?
Well, I think, I mean, it is a little weird, but I think it evens out just because everybody has that, So if you all are playing on the same level, then it's still pretty even. And it might be one of those things where people that really do get a feel for the controls, are still getting headshots with manual aim, while everyone else is just hitting the body with the auto lock.
Okay, so like shooter people will be happy because I know they'd be complaining if everything was like auto lock in multiplayer.
Yeah,
There's really high scoring games, but everybody would just be respawning all the time and dying.
Yeah, I mean, some of the games like the Cloven game, one of them, I got through it in like 3 minutes, just because like everyone just suddenly turns to the other side and starts shooting their allies. So it's it's kind of fun, just trying to figure out how to survive against them. But I think the single player is definitely more the main draw. There's a lot of features to keep you replaying. The campaign is it's well over 12 hours long. There's about 23 to 25 missions somewhere in there, and they're anywhere between 20 and 45 minutes each.
Well, I think it's really cool that Sony is still supporting the PSP. I'll be honest with you. I mean, my PSP's been buried in a box for the last 12, 18 months. I think, one of the last games I played was actually 50 Cent on the PSP, and then I just put it to one side. So I'm actually glad that there's some good stuff coming out, especially as high-profile a release as Resistance. So kudos to Sony, and if you have a PSP, dust it off and stop watching porn on it and actually go pick up this game.
New superior breed creating a new world, Genital Virus. I was to become a god.
This is a precursor to the next little segment, and I promise you this is the last time this particular game will be featured on Invisible Walls in its current form, unless they do some great DLC for it, or we're talking about Game of the Year at the end of the year. And no, I'm not talking about Fallout 3. I am talking about Resident Evil 5. We covered it last week to the nth degree, but we have the review code in, the final code, and Damiani has been playing it, and he wants to talk about one particular segment, so I'm going to let him do that very quickly. So, Mike, what the f*** is Mercenary Mode?
All right. Well, for those of you who are familiar with Resident Evil 4, it's basically this, basically an arcade-style mode, which is unlocked once you beat the game. You basically go into these mini arenas where you try and kill as many, they're not technically zombies, I'm just going to call them zombies. Try and kill as many zombies as possible within the time limit and rack up a high score.
Is there a disembodied voice saying, reload?
I don't remember that. Well, in RE5 one, there's nothing like that, actually.
I'm just thinking of real shooters in general.
Yeah, it doesn't do anything as cheesy as that. And it actually was very popular, so that's why Capcom decided to bring it back in Resident Evil 5. And I don't know why they were so secretive about it.
Yeah.
They had to have a press release announcing
That's
it.
the thing.
Yeah, they only announced it last week, didn't they?
They almost treated it as like super secretive leaked data that was not supposed to be known until the game came out. I mean, that was a given.
Well, I suppose they had to save something, something. They've told us everything else about the game. I'm surprised the final, cinematic isn't already up somewhere.
But regardless, it's just a really fun thing to play. And this time around, the new spin on it is that you can play multiplayer.
Yes, which introduces a really nice dynamic to it.
And so what's great about Resident Evil 5 is the co-op multiplayer, and it's now in Mercenaries, and it is just a blast to play.
Mm-hmm. So what do? You just upload your high score, or can you win? Like there are
leaderboards. So once it's live for everybody, you can go online, see what your highest scores are. It has a ranking system, just like the normal mission. So you see how your score affects it, as well as how much damage you took. But the coolest thing that we had the most fun with, Patrick and I were playing it, was was the combo part of it.
Yeah.
Trying to keep your combos going for as long as possible. And I think we got it up to like 36, 37.
Yeah.
All right, that's enough.
Yeah.
We have no more Resident Evil until
spoilers.
The next time we talk about this game, only if they bring back zombies. None of this fucking crap that they got now. I want zombies in my Resident Evil. Thank you. Resident Evil, good night. All right, so now we are going back to our favorite and hardest working movie star in the games industry, who's having a banner 2009, Mr. Vin Diesel.
I thought we were going to talk about 50 Cent.
No, we're not going to talk about 50 Cent. No,
Blood on the sand, come on.
No, Vin's got a couple of games coming out. No, we've covered Riddick to death. We know Riddick's phenomenal, and we know that the demo's out there and people are playing it. But there is another game that we haven't really touched on, Brooks, and seeing as you're our Vin Diesel lookalike.
That's nice. Thank you for the compliment.
Well, you're both slapheads. I kid because I love. Anyway, tell us about Wheelman, mate.
All right, Vin Diesel's Wheelman.
Now this is a simulation racer, right? It's got all the accurate physics and everything.
Over the top. It really reminds me of. You guys played Burnout, obviously, right?
Yes.
You know, like not the crash modes in Burnout, but the
takedowns.
Help me out here. The takedowns, yeah. That's pretty much Wheelman in a nutshell. You're basically pedal to the metal. You're driving down these enclosed streets, and in the demo, you're being chased by cops.
Because you are a driver, a getaway driver, basically the Wheelman.
A hired Vin Diesel. You're going. You could take him out. What's great about it is the controls feel really, really nice, and you use the right analog stick as like your melee attack. It sounds weird, but you shift it right or left, and he does this nice little crash into the car right next to you. It's awesome. You could hit jumps, and it goes in slow motion. He could shoot while he's driving. It's just action-packed, fun little demo game.
So let me guess.
And he can jump like a monkey from one car to the next.
Yeah, he can.
Yeah, that looked pretty cool.
Like Pursuit Force, he just
goes.
Like
Matrix stuff right there. Like the agents, yeah.
And then it has this like slow motion bullet time where you activate it by hitting down or up on the D-pad. And his car will spin 180 and it'll turn to see his oppressors. and then you just aim up the gun and you could shoot one-hit kills and just make these cars explode.
Yeah,
He's so
I like that
badass.
part in like Mission Impossible when he spins around the motorcycle and he does
Oh,
that.
yeah.
Yeah, it's John Woo style, definitely John
It's
Woo
all
style.
just completely ridiculous.
Yeah.
And there's actually, it's not all driving, at least I don't assume so, because you can get out of the car, get on foot, walk around, choose your vehicle. You don't just have to monkey hop from one car to the next.
Yeah.
It seems though that it's ridiculously stylish enough that it'll be still fun to play.
Yeah, it's kind of like in that Saints Row territory where it's just over-the-top humor and fun, but
And you know what? There's nothing wrong with that. I actually
No.
like Saints Row 2. I thought Saints Row 2 was a vast improvement, and I'm all for some good fun and some let's face it, it's video games, it's escapism. And while I may not like 50 Cent Blood in the Toilet,
there's stuff there to appreciate.
but there's stuff there to appreciate.
Yeah.
But again, the Wheelman, you want over the top. Video games are supposed to be about escapism now and then.
Yeah.
And I think it's looking good and it's sounding good, and I understand you're going to spend some time, or actually by the time this goes out, you will have spoken to Mr. Diesel.
Yeah.
You're going to sit down and chew the fat.
When this hits the air, I would have had a one-on-one with Vin Diesel.
Well, if you get the chance to have him say hello to everybody who listens to Invisible Walls, we'll insert that now.
Slide over to the GD.
So do you approve a lot of the stuff when it comes to you? You get the Vin Diesel stamp of approval?
Gotta have the Vin Diesel stamp. If you don't have the Vin Diesel stamp, you're half-stepping.
And we just need the picture side by side.
Well,
Oh,
I
yeah.
was actually going to leave a little gap there before you talked over it, Bloodworth.
He ruins everything, man.
Seriously, dude. And of course, if he didn't, you'll just hear Bloodworth, and we'll put a picture up of Bloodworth instead.
Nice.
All right, so moving on.
My name's Milo Burek. I just came in from Miami. I'm looking for a job.
What do you do, Milo from Miami?
I'm a wheelman.
All right, to finish up, there's no On the Hook this week, by the way. On the Hook will be back in a couple of weeks, and we're planning something very special for it. So just to sort of like let you know that it's coming back. But we've had a rather traumatic week across the board, Xbox-wise. From a personal perspective, my Pride and Joy 360 that I bought when it first came out finally succumbed to Red Ring of Death this week. And the bizarre thing was, I wasn't playing a game. I was streaming something from Netflix.
Oh, man.
I just installed it, and
I hope you didn't have a party of people over.
No, it was actually just me. I just installed the app because I just, I just signed up to Netflix, and I was.
What movie was it? I'm curious.
I was actually watching some quality
You're gonna lie.
BBC 1970s sci-fi serials. It was actually Day of the Triffids. It was a really old, crappy sci-fi series. But yeah, I was halfway through episode 3 and
Boom.
bang. Well, actually, not even bang. More like blink, blink, blink.
Wow.
So that was my issue. I mean, to be fair to Microsoft, got on the phone with them. I thought I was out of warranty, but they said no problem at all. So I'm shipping it back.
Was this a day one launch 360? Is that
It
what you
wasn't
said?
day one. It was like a couple of months after, but it was the first batch.
But it lasted pretty freaking long.
It lasted really well. So Microsoft have very kindly said that I can ship it off to them, and they're gonna, fix it or give me a reconditioned one. I'll have that back in a couple of weeks. So I'm Xbox-less right now, which sucks because I have Watchmen to play. Resident Evil's coming out. I'm gonna have to play things on the PlayStation 3. I mean, seriously, how can I maintain my reputation as an expert when I have to play and enjoy games on the PS3? Oh, Jesus Christ.
Well, in terms of Watchmen, you're not missing much.
Well, I didn't think I would be, but I would like to, give it a good go. But apparently that's not all the issues that have been going on with 360 this week.
Well, just like a month or two ago, our lead tech guy, Brent Phillips, his red ringed. A couple weeks ago, Rich Brown's red ringed. And then last week, we lost 2 in the office, 1 retail and 1 debug. And so now we're down to 1 debug left, waiting on Microsoft to send more.
And we should quickly note, too, that the surviving debug actually was momentarily incapacitated.
Oh.
Yeah, it's on life support right now.
Meanwhile, our PS3s are fine.
Yeah.
And our Wii is fine.
Wow. Well, it's my experience with Microsoft was pretty good. We'll see what happens when the actual machine comes back, because I'm hearing stories of repaired or repurposed machines coming back and breaking down within a couple of weeks afterwards. So I'm going to keep everybody updated on that, because they, I know all the Facebook group know exactly how pissed off I am. But I think it's totally bizarre. I mean, it's like they've built in obsolescence. Or maybe just Microsoft did a really bad job with that, heat sink not being big enough the first time round, and then nasty power brick, and It's annoying. It's annoying. So we'll see. We'll actually keep you updated on our Xbox situation. So for the next couple of weeks, you cannot call us Xbots. We're all going to be playing PS3 games and loving them, and Wii games and DS games and PSP.
That's
and I'm
right.
going to be playing Bejeweled on my iPhone.
In 2007, the Red Ring of Death became the new gold standard for defective console production.
All right, that's it for our Friday the 13th show. We've all got through it. I mean, maybe it's because it's the Friday the 13th show. That's why all our Xboxes blew up and died.
Everyone else is gone.
Yes, indeed.
Seriously disappeared.
Shane will be back next week, thank God, because I actually don't like sitting here because he's so much better at this than I am. We will be keeping you informed, but there is going to be a sort of like a big celebration of the fact that we are hitting 52 episodes, and we will be coming of age in about 4 weeks' time. We're going to be all grown up and everything, so you need to keep your eyes and ears peeled. We'll be making some announcements. Join us on the Facebook group, 'cause that's a good way to get in touch with us. Thank you once again for watching. Don't forget to check out Game Trailers TV later on this evening on Spike. Until next week, when Shane will be back, this is Marcus Beer saying ciao muchachos.